it's Sandra. Welcome to another episode of Asexualise, my asexual life. This is a place to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual, and I share my asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. So subscribe and hit the bell icon right now. So, in today's episode, we're going to be discussing the pros and cons of getting into a relationship quickly and how you can make that be more successful. So, if you didn't know already, I am in fact in a relationship now after searching for my Indian soulmate for 10 years, who I knew from a past life. Yes, I believe in past lives. I'm really spiritual. And I always believed since 2014 that I'm meant to be in a relationship with an Indian guy of a certain description. And the guy I'm with now, I believe, is that guy I've been searching for 10 years of my life since 2014. And so normally, as a general rule, I would advise, and quite a lot of other dating coaches would advise, not to get into a relationship quickly. And there is a lot of good reasons for this, because you don't know each other. There can be a lot of surprises that crop up, things that you weren't expecting. There can be a few shocks in store for you. You don't really necessarily know where you stand with each other. Obviously you can get hurt. There's time needed to get to know each other, and if you're going to spend a lifetime, for example, together, you don't need to rush into anything, right? So it's really important that you understand that taking time is important to get to know someone. And often people need to build a friendship first, strong foundation of friendship first before they get into a relationship, because healthy relationships are based on a very strong foundation of friendship first. And, if you get into a relationship quickly, there can be a lot of difficulties. There can be difficulties understanding each other. There can be difficulties when maybe your personalities end up being a bit different to what you thought they were. Maybe their lifestyle and your lifestyle ends up not being as compatible as you thought it might be. And, there's, issues with sometimes being able to communicate effectively with each other, being able to understand each other effectively. And, there's those type of issues going on, which are the kind of negative side of getting into a relationship. You don't usually know who the person is. You have to feel safe and comfortable around them. You have to get to know what they're really like as a person. And sometimes people can be just showing you the best sides of them, so you haven't seen what the more ugly side is of them, or the more non-favorable side. They're showing you their best qualities. Usually people go through what they call a honeymoon period, which is often the first 3 months of a relationship, where people are on their best behavior. And after that, if they've got behavior that's not so good, that's going to show through. But some people are not honest, and they can deceive for a long, long time. Other people are very transparent, open, and honest from the beginning. So, you have to decide for you whether you feel that you should get into a relationship quickly with someone or not. As a general rule, I wouldn't advise it as a general rule, but I think there are exceptions. If you want to have an exception, I think some people do get into a relationship quickly and it is successful. And so I think it does happen. In fact, I know it does happen, because my mum, when her dad was alive, he married her mum within just a matter of months. I think it was they'd only known each other 3 weeks when they got engaged. I think within 3 months they were married. My mum's mum died when my mum was younger, so she's no longer around now. There is her dad, but they did get married quite quickly after they first knew each other, and the only thing that separated them was death. So it can work out. I know other people that have made it success, and then I know other people that got into a relationship quickly and it ended up being a disaster, and there was abuse and stuff like that going on. So I think that different people have different experiences. You have to, at the end of the day, make your own informed choice or decision which is right for you. In terms of the cons, though, that it is always going to be harder when you're bringing two people together who don't know each other over a long period of time, because you've got to get used to each other. You've got to get used to each other's ways, each other's lifestyles, each other's way of being, each other's mannerisms, each other's idiosyncrasies, is that the right word? And nuances. You have to get to know each other's nature. You have to understand how to work together as a team and all this lot. So it can be quite daunting. And I don't think, unless it's something you really want, that you should go and get into a relationship quickly with anyone. However, I have got into a relationship quickly with my soulmate. And the reason for this is good because I feel that this guy I've known a lot longer than I actually have. And I feel he is the guy I knew in a past life. And because I'm so convinced of that, I feel really comfortable around him. Like, we're very natural with each other. It's like we've been with each other a very long time. And there are lots of qualities I like about this guy, which makes the relationship better. And this is how you can get a successful relationship, even if you do get into one quickly. And that's if you have a certain type of person. This person who I'm now in a relationship with, he is very good at dealing with conflict, at solving problems quickly, dealing with conflict resolution. So, in other words, our relationship has already had some difficulties in nothing that can't be fixed, you know? Not in terms of my asexuality. He is amazing with my asexuality, you know. He I don't have sex with him. He only you know, he doesn't want me to do anything I don't want to do. I'm talking about other things, you know? And so um there has been some difficulties. Mostly I've been the one that's been a bit upset about something, but he has sorted it out. He'll literally get on the phone even if he's going to work and it's going to make him like late to take a shower for work or late for breakfast or something. He'll stay talking to me and fix and solve the problem so that I'm not anxious all the time for the rest of the day. So for me personally, because I've got an anxiety condition, I've got relationship anxiety and potential relationship anxiety, actually being in a relationship with him has worked out better for me than before, because we met on Facebook dating and we were talking like every day. We were like messaging and talking, and we had a first video date, and straight away after the first video date he goes, "I'm already in love with you." And then the next day goes, "I love you lots," you know. And so it happened very quickly for him that he loved me, and I already loved him from a past life. Like, it was natural for me to just love him already, totally. So for me, it's like natural for me to be with him, and it was actually anxiety inducing not being in a relationship with him, because he was acting like he was in a relationship with me. We were both acting like that, but he wasn't actually officially asking me because he wanted to wait till we met in person, which is a good guy for him to do that, on Friday the 29th of March, to actually ask me to be his forever girlfriend and forever life partner, which I loved. He said, "I would ask you to marry me, but I know you told me you don't want marriage, so that's why I'm asking it this way." But it is beautiful, you know. It's a really good thing. Like, he is the ideal guy for me. He's not a perfect as in no room for improvement. Like, I'm not perfect and there's room for improvement, but in terms of my ideal guy, he's my ideal guy in terms of like looks and personality characteristic traits. He's very kind, very caring, very empathetic, very sensitive. And so I think if you're going to be in a relationship quickly with anyone, you have to feel a natural comfortability around each other. You have to both be putting 110% effort in. You have to both be feeling the same way about each other. You have to be feeling like it's natural. You have to be flowing in conversation together. You have to be, you know, both wanting to make it work. You have to both be on the same hymn page. You have to both feel the same things, be in the same sort of mindset about each other, even if your lifestyles are different, you know? So, like, whenever we can, we always want to video chat. He loves video chatting, which is great for me because I love doing that too. So every night we video call when we're away from each other, because he lives in London and I live in Exeter. So it's a long distance relationship from that point of view. And, you know, it feels so good. It feels better being in a relationship than having all the anxiety of, are we or aren't we? Because I don't want to be kissing him unless I'm in a relationship with him, which I am now. So I can kiss him all I want. It's great. And have that freedom. So for me, with my anxiety, it's like, I don't like being in no man's land. I like either I'm in a relationship or I'm not in a relationship. And yes, I have dated some guys, but I haven't been serious about them. I haven't, you know, they're not, or they're not the right guys for me. But he, I feel, is the right guy for me. He's very patient and kind and caring. He isn't perfect, but the things that I love about him are really good. You know, he has a lot of staying power, and he has a lot of commitment to me, you know. So if you're going to have a relationship with someone, you need someone who's great at conflict resolution, which he is, great at problem solving, which he is. He's intellectual, which is good. You has a very good way of talking to me, very good conversational style with me. The conversation flows between me and him. He provides a safe space for me to tell him how I feel, the good things and the not so good things. So if you get into a relationship quickly, if you want to make it a success, you need to be able to have open, honest communication at all times. Hi, Sky Cat. Congratulations, all the best. Oh, thank you. It's nice to see you. Lots of love. So yeah, you've got to be able to have open, honest communication and tell each other how you feel on a regular basis, like daily. And obviously, because I am asexual, he's not, he's heterosexual. We have to discuss physical stuff a lot. You know, like what am I comfortable with? What am I not comfortable with? For him, he's like nothing's off limits with his body, you know, but with mine it is. So he asks me and checks in with me, like, is it okay to do this? He tells me what he'd like to do, then I tell him where I'm comfortable or not with it. And if I'm not, then I don't do it. And if maybe I'm comfortable sometimes, I say it's okay this time, but next time it might not be. So I think you've got to like just you know, like work out what's comfortable and right for you. And, you know, obviously you've got to make sure that the person you're in a relationship with is not just focused on physical stuff, on body stuff. But, you know, if you're having a long distance relationship, it's not going to be just like based on physical stuff anyway, because you've got to maintain and sustain a relationship with no physical contact for days. Or, I mean, he's coming this weekend to see me again. So it's like, you know, sometimes though he might have to change jobs. Well, he's going to have to change jobs. So, you know, I don't know what new job he's going to get because he's got to get sponsorship to stay in the UK. So that might mean that we end up spending more time apart because he might not have a fixed place to, like, you know, he might be moving around in some jobs he could apply for, you know, or moving somewhere else in the UK. But so long as it's in the UK, we can make it work. As long as he's in, you know, able to get to me. He doesn't mind traveling, so he'll travel to see me. So he did want to move to my city, but it's not necessarily going to be possible to do that at the moment. So, you know, I think it's really good if you've got open, honest communication. You're talking about future plans together is very important. Make sure you both want the same thing. Make sure you both want to be together. Make sure you literally plan out on a piece of paper. Like me and him, we're doing scheduling. So a good thing to do is if you're kind of like got a different timetables, different schedules, which I have to him with my work and when I go to sleep, it's good to like plan it all out together. So we're writing down, like, a lot of the time it's my schedule fitting in with his, because he's quite, at the moment he's quite sat. And then we've got like long-term goals as well. So short-term goals and long-term goals are really important. Write them out, because when you write them out, it's practical, it's taking action, and seeing something on paper makes it more real, if you know what I mean. We're automatically really good friends anyway, like, because we get on so well and it's natural for us to be together and we feel comfortable around each other. It's just like we're really good, amazing friends together anyway. Do you know what I mean? So the fact that we've skipped like being friends for very long and gone straight into a relationship doesn't really feel like that this time in this relationship, because it feels like we were friends first before we got into a relationship, even though we loved each other before we got into a relationship. We loved each other really quickly. But I loved him from my past life with him. So for me, it's just normal to love him and natural, because it's like I loved him before in the previous life, because obviously I believe in previous lives and I believe I've been with him in a previous life. The way we talk to each other is just like we've been together a long time. It's really comfortable. And, you know, it's not always easy because I do have to talk to him about things I'm not happy with. So there has been some stuff not to do with my asexuality. He's really good about that. But he's inexperienced in relationships. I'm a lot more experienced than he is. But that's nice. I love that about him. You know, I love the fact he hasn't been with any girl close. Like, he's only had one relationship with long distance. He didn't even ever meet the person in person. The person wasn't good in the end to him. But I've seen evidence of that. But, you know, I'm glad that I'm his first like person of being like in person with an in-person relationship, and being like first like proper kiss. Like, he's only ever kissed his family really before, you know, like I'm his first kiss. And I can't really say I'm his first love in terms of like he loved the person he was in a long distance relationship with before, but I would say I think I'm in his first true love because he did love the other person, but I just feel that he's more suited to me anyway, and she clearly was not right for him. So I kind of think of me as his first true love, even though he's not said that, you know. I kind of think like, yeah, I'm more right for you than the past person. So I'm more like your first true real love, you know. But it's nice. I like the fact he's not experienced with women because, you know, he's not a womanizer. He's a really nice guy. He's cares about his family and friends and cares about me loads. He's really good for my anxiety reduction as well. So I think if you have anxiety, which I do, you've got to be with someone who's very reassuring, who's always willing to sort things out quickly, any problems before they escalate and get bigger, who's great at conflict resolution, which he is. I think you've got to have someone who's really feeling your pain. Like if I'm upset about something, he feels my pain and he gets upset as well. Do you know what I mean? That's a really good guy who feels your pain. It means like he's not perfect. He cocks up sometimes, and I say I'm going to kick your ass, like in a nice way, not metaphorically, not not really. I got to kick your ass on a few things, like but you know what I mean. I get on really well with him, and so I do. He knows that I care about him loads. I'm always, he had when we were going around the aquarium together, he wasn't very well. He had a pain condition, and so I was like really worried about him. And when because I have actually got fibromyalgia pain condition as well. Like there was times when I wasn't feeling so good, and he was like really worried about me. Like he's more concerned about me than physical stuff with me, if you know what I mean. But he does love kissing and stuff as much as me. So well, I say as much as me. Like he didn't know he liked it that much until he was with me because he hadn't really been doing that. But he'll kiss me anywhere, and he loves kissing in public, which is great for me because I'm a hyper kisser, so he really likes that about me, which is great. Um, so I feel very comfortable around him. So if you get into a relationship quickly with someone, you've got to see if it actually feels right, if it flows right, and you've got to both be putting as much time and energy and effort into it as possible. I think that's key. I think most people that get into a relationship quickly, it ends up being one-sided very quickly, where one person's more invested in the relationship than the other person. And then it just all falls apart because you end up feeling like you're just on your own and you may as well just give up now. And if it's in the early stages, you kind of probably more likely to give up in the sense that, well, you've not invested as much time, energy, and effort. But if you're, he likes the fact that I put over 100% effort in, and so does he. And he's always there messaging me, like he's always there in my inbox, and I get a lot of reassurance from him. My anxiety was really bad before I actually got into a relationship with him because I don't like no man's land. For me, I'm either in a relationship with you or I'm not. If we're acting like we're in a relationship together, then but he did tell me I do want to be in a relationship with you, but I don't want to ask you for an official relationship until I see you in person, which was what he did this weekend. So, well, this weekend on the East weekend. And I think that's nice because he said that anyone can say anything off the internet, but he wanted me to see him in person before making that decision, to make sure he's right for me and vice versa. Because anyone can say anything on the internet, this, that, and the other, but until you actually see them in person. But we did do video calling before. So basically, we knew each other for 10 days before getting into a relationship with each other, which is not usually recommended. But I just feel with him that it's the right thing to do. I feel like I want to spend the rest of my life with him. And the I just do, and it's all natural and it's really good. He cares about me, and if I'm upset, he cares that I'm upset. If I'm worried, he gets worried. If I'm not happy in the relationship over something, then he will sort it out. He won't be feeling good about it. He'll be feeling like, oh my God, I upset her, I hurt her feelings. I need to make this right. What can I do? Say sorry, and then what can I do to change the behavior and make things better? Which is a really good guy. You've got to have someone in a relationship with you who's willing to work on themselves, work with you in the relationship, and have a growth mindset and be willing to say sorry without any problems saying sorry, and also to change the behavior. The behavioral change is the thing that you've got to watch for, make sure the person does, because it's easy for someone to just say sorry. If they don't know what they're saying sorry about, they're not really going to change the behavior. You know what I mean? They've got to understand that. And, when you have got two people coming together, there can be some surprises down. That's the worst thing I think about getting quickly into a relationship is you don't really know each other that well. So there can be things about the other person that you don't necessarily know or like. I mean, for example, the other day he told me about he asked me about tattoos, and I said I hate tattoos, and he's like, "Oh, I was going to get a tattoo," and I'm like, "Oh my God." And it's like hard, isn't it? Because I'm like, well, it's up to you. It's your body. You do what you like. But I personally don't like them. I can't stand them because to me, it's like a barrier to kissing as well. It's like if I want to kiss him, I don't like facial hair, which he doesn't have. And I mean, occasionally he has this little bit of hair like attached, but he can't really grow facial hair, which is perfect for me. Um, and so, I want to make sure that we're both on the same hymn sheet and we both like the same things. But if he likes tattoos, it's his body, he can do what he likes. But I see it as a barrier to kissing, like I do with facial hair. I see it as a barrier to kissing. But like I said, he doesn't have facial hair, so that's not a problem. But you know what I mean? It's like I don't really want to be kissing him and stroking his chest or whatever, and then seeing this tattoo staring at me or something. I'm like, oh my god, this is so off-putting. He does have a really beautiful body, which I didn't think I'd ever say because I'm not usually into bodies because I'm asexual. Like the chest is gorgeous and everything, and that's really weird. I haven't really looked in detail at every little bit of his body. I'll just make that clear. But I mean, the chest there is really nice. So, I didn't think I'd like any guy's body as much as I actually like his because I'm asexual and I'm not into like sex and I'm not, really like I did tell him I'm not really interested in male genitalia. It doesn't, don't really find it appealing, you know what I mean? Um, so yeah, but I'm able to tell him all this, how I feel, and he's able to say that to me because it's important that he tells me how he feels. So like I think it's good to be comfortable around each other. Like I have to accept, that which I do, that he's heterosexual and he has to accept that I'm asexual. So he knows that I'm not interested in having sex, and I think he's perfectly fine for that. But I have done some more physical stuff with him because I chose to and wanted to, which I didn't think I would do. Like, I didn't think I would ever do that. It's because he's so good looking. I'm like, "Oh my god," aesthetically, but, I haven't had sex, and there's things that are completely off limits to him at the moment, for sure. So, but he's fine with that, because he knows that I'm asexual and accepts that about me. But I do I like his physique of body more than I thought I would, like, ever like a guy's. I've never been really that interested in a guy's body for a number of years, if you know what I mean, since I've predominantly been single. And now I'm like, oh, when you see a beautiful painting and it's like, and it's just like the most gorgeous painting you've ever seen in your life, and you wanted it for, in my case, like 10 years. And that painting, like, you saw it in a museum or something or some place, and then all of a sudden this person like, here you go, have a gift. You can have this painting that you've been staring at for like 10 years. It's come to life. Here you go in your place. And it's like, oh wow. It's very surreal and very interesting, because believe I've known this guy before in a past life. It's all very like surreal, but it's all very real, and it's all very like, oh my god, this is my guy. He really does care. He wants to make sure that I'm stay in a relationship with him and be in a relationship with him. It's like of utmost importance to him, which is good because I need a guy like because I want to be with him forever as well. You've got to have two people who badly want to be in a relationship with each other just as much. Otherwise, it doesn't work. It just becomes one-sided and feels bad, But I think you have to remember whatever relationship you get into that you can always get out of it if it becomes bad, like, I mean, I don't think for 1 minute this is gonna be a bad relationship. He's a very kind, caring guy, and I don't think that's gonna change. He's very, very calm. Even when I'm not calm, he's very, very calm. So I don't think he's ever gonna be bad in that way, But I have to say, as a person who's educating you about dating relationships on this channel, that if things don't go well, first of all, you should always talk to the person and explain that you're not feeling good and explain how you are feeling. Now, if that person's a good person for you and the right person for you to be in a relationship with, they will want to listen to what you have to say. They will be glad that you told them so they can sort any problems out in the relationship so they don't escalate out of control and split you up, right? If they really want to be in a relationship with you, they'll want to sort things out with you. So that's the first thing. Second is once you've talked to them, they need to be apology. There should be an apology because they've hurt your feelings. So if that person's not apologizing, that's a really bad sign. If they're apologizing, that's a great sign. But they need to know what they're apologizing for. If they're just apologizing for the sake of apologizing to keep the peace or something, then that's again not a good thing. You need to make sure, like, do you know what you're apologizing for? Do you know why you hurt me? Do you know what hurt my feelings? You know what specifically? And they should have no problem in answering that, and they should be able to talk to you about it, because you've got to have a lot of open, honest communication about everything and anything in a relationship for it to be successful. But also, if you're asexual, obviously you've got the sexual element as well, if the person's not asexual, so you've got another layer of communication that you need to like excel in. You need to be explaining what feels good to you, what doesn't. To be honest, sometimes when I'm with him, I'm not sure about some touching things and others. Like, I would usually be really sure of myself, what I want and what I don't want, but sometimes with him I actually don't know everything. Sometimes I might be like, okay, you can try this, but if I don't like it, then I'm not having it again, or won't be having it for a while again. So I just really strange, because I've always had specific limits, which I do still have, but because I feel so good with him, it's like I am happy to do more touching, I guess, than I thought I would ever in a relationship ever again, because I've not been into touching anything really, apart from the guy's chest a bit. But yeah, so it's kind of a bit strange for me experience. I have to keep checking in with myself, and I think it's very important when you're asexual to keep checking in with yourself, how you feel. So if you are doing anything in a relationship and it's more of a physical nature, and maybe you're experimenting or doing something you didn't think you do or you haven't done for ages, I think you always need to check in with yourself, like, why am I doing this? Do I like it? Does it feel good? What's my reason behind it? Like, make sure it's something that you want to do because you want to do it and you want to try it and you want to have it, not because the other person's pressurized you into it, which he doesn't do with me. But you shouldn't have anyone pressurizing you or pushing you to anything. But you might feel like you want to do some things that might surprise you as an asexual person. Like, it surprises me how much I like his body. I'm not into bodies usually. Do you know what I mean? It's just big, but because he's my ideal look in terms of a guy, he's like just literally how I described him on this channel: short, dark hair, clean shaven, baby soft skin, thin, like gorgeous colored skin. Like, he's just like so beautifully aesthetically to me that for me to touch like his chest or something is a very nice feeling, because it's like, when you feel silk and it's all soft, his skin's like that, basically baby soft skin, and he's the ideal aesthetic type. Like, I really want to snog him, kiss him all the time, and I like stroking his chest and stuff and cuddling him and being close to him. So for me, it's kind of like a weird experience as an asexual person who's been quite like limited more in what I will physically do with a guy. But it seems like with him, I'm a bit more open to doing some other stuff some of the time, not all the time. I told him, like, if I do some touching in a certain place that I wouldn't usually do, or allow you to do that to me, I don't necessarily want that all the time. It might be okay this time, but I don't want it another time. And so I have to be very clear. So when you're asexual, you have to keep checking in with the other person, because obviously they've got feelings. If they're heterosexual, they are turned on by you usually. They are into doing more sexual stuff because they're heterosexual. So you have to bear that in mind and have to ask them how they're feeling. What you have to understand what they want. Doesn't mean to say you have to give it to them. What ideally they like in terms of touching, and you then tell them, that person, what you will do and what you won't do, and what you like doing, what you don't like doing. But you have to keep checking in with yourself. I have to keep checking in with myself. Like, am I doing something because I know he would like me to do, or am I doing it because I genuinely want to do it? Am I doing it because I feel comfortable, or am I doing it because it's just a moment thing? Like, I always have to keep checking in, because like, you need to make sure that you're having a healthy relationship all the time. And if you're with a heterosexual, you have to make sure you still feel comfortable around them, confident around them, safe around them. I mean, the good thing about him, which I absolutely adore, is like, oh, you can do anything to me that you want, like in terms of like touching body stuff. Whereas with me, I restrict the areas he's allowed to touch. But for me, that gives me complete control in the physical sense and freedom at the same time. And that's the best position, I think, for an asexual to be in, especially a sex repulsed one like me, because it allows you to have complete control, really, over the physical stuff. When I say complete control, obviously they can still say no, but he's like, do what you like. I have no restrictions on touching my body or anything like that. I have no restrictions on any of my body stuff, which is really nice for me. But he's not like that with anyone else. It's only because he's in a relationship with me. He's like, when I first met him, he's like, like he's not like into women and stuff. Like he's not going around chatting up loads of women and stuff, which is really good. But I think when you're asexual, to have that agency where you can do what you like, but you can restrict what you don't like is just really powerful. I find it a lot more attractive when a guy, specifically my guy now, is telling me like you can do what you like to me, but I'm still respecting of your boundaries. To me, that is complete freedom. To me, that makes me feel more that I want to do more touching because he's given me that freedom and I don't feel restricted. I don't feel pressured. I don't feel put upon. I don't feel like I have to do something. And I keep saying this to him as well, just because I like that about him. I'm like, it's better when you don't expect anything from me. You don't put any pressure on me. You just let me do what I want. It's better that way. But obviously he does tell me what he likes. So I have to like in my mind think, okay, he really liked that, which is great. But if I'm going to do that again, I have to do it because I want to do it again, not because because he really liked it. So you've got to really bear this in mind when you're asexual. And obviously, if you get the impression that the person's just after you for physical stuff, which this guy isn't, I know with me, but if you do get that impression, then don't be in a relationship with that person. But if you feel that, everything's natural and flowing and it's going well, and you can tell the person anything and everything, you can bring up difficult conversations, you can you get a lot of empathy from them, you get sympathy, you get caringness, kindness, sensitivity, emotional stuff. I get all this from him. He's a very beautifully diverse person in terms of qualities. I like that about him. And he cares about my personality, not just my looks. I know that. And the connection we have together. So, if you've got a person that's interested in other qualities besides physical stuff, then it's really good because that person is much more likely to stay with you. I know he wants me to be with him for the rest of his life. I know that for a fact. So I want to be with him for the rest of my life. So that's really good. Like when you've got that really good, strong connection from the beginning, you feel you love each other like pretty much nearly straight away. I mean, I feel like I know from the past life and I previously loved him in that one. So for me, it's just a continuation of pure true love. And for him, he loved me. He knew he loved me really quickly anyway. So it's all really good. There's a lot of positive stuff, and as long as you continue to have open, honest communication, nothing's off limits from what you can talk about. No one shuts the other person down from conversation. You keep you keep basically, if you've got an issue, you keep talking about it until it's done and it's finished and it's forgiveness and done with. But it doesn't mean to say you're going to necessarily forget it. You've got to obviously make sure they've changed their behavior and they're not actually repeating that thing. They say, look, it won't happen again. You need to make sure they're not, it's not happening again. You do need to kind of like park it in your mind a bit, like I don't think like I think it's good to forgive the other person, but I think you have to have in your mind as well, okay, I forgive this person, but I do need to make sure it's not going to happen again because obviously you need someone who's reliable, trustworthy, who means what they say and says what they mean and does what they say. And you know what I mean? You need continuity, persistency, consistency. So, if you ever get into a relationship quickly and things don't go well, never be afraid to leave. This is going well, this relationship with me and him, but if you are in a situation where it doesn't go well, you can just go. Like I've announced all over social media, I'm with this guy now and I'm committed to this guy and I love this guy, right? But if he turned out to not treat me well and there was like no behavioral change and he wasn't good for me, then I would have to obviously not be with him because you cannot stay with someone who's wrong for you and who's not treating you well, despite the fact I put it all over social media and believe it's my soulmate. But I do believe he's the right guy for me. Any mistakes or difficulties he rectifies as quickly as possible, very quickly. He's really good at solving problems, and he's really good at conflict resolution. He's really good at anything I'm upset or worried about. He'll put my mind at rest, even if he's on the phone for an hour before his work, really tired, he will sort it out because he knows that it's more important than anything. Like, he prioritizes me as well in the relationship. He prioritizes me in his life. And so this is really good. Obviously, like, if you are in a new relationship and the person gonna have to swap jobs, which he's gonna have to do, that is going to be difficult in the relationship because he's going to be changing the dynamic quite quickly. But in relationships, dynamics can change and people can change jobs, people can change. So you've got to bear that in mind, that you want someone really that you're ideally going to change and grow together with. And that any new thing that comes along, you're going to tackle together, really. Like, ask the person like question like, how are we going to get through this together? How are we going to move forward with this? How are we going to progress from here? So you're always like including the other person because you're together with them. You're in a relationship, you're not single. So you need to be asking them their opinion, their thoughts, their feelings, their emotions, of not just the relationship as is, but also any future plans you've got together, anything that's going on. You know what I mean? It's a lot of open, honest communication. And then, like I said, when you're asexual, you've got the extra element of the physical stuff that you've always got to keep in check. Obviously, if you're a asexual who's not sex repulsed and you don't mind having sex and you're just open and no restrictions on your body, no nudity, repulsion, like I've got, and all the rest of it, then you haven't really got anything to worry about. But if you're a person that's sex repulsed like me and you've got like restrictions on your body because you just don't like being touched in certain places or not in certain places at specific times or in specific ways, then you have to communicate that, because that other person's got their own needs, they've got own thoughts, their own feelings. Like, I don't like the male anatomy really, and it's I don't particularly want to go around looking at that, and so like, if he's unrestricted but I'm restricted, like, if he doesn't mind not wearing anything and I do, then I'm like looking around elsewhere because I really like not into the male anatomy. I don't know if that, oh, excuse me, I don't know if that'll ever change because it's him specifically. I feel better because it is him, because I think when you love someone, like, even if you're I'm sex repulsed, but I think if you love someone, it doesn't necessarily change anything, but you can sometimes feel a bit differently, like, because it's his specific body. I like it more because it's his, and I trust him and I love him implicitly, and he's gorgeous. Do you know what I mean? So it's a bit different to, like, I would never ever think about doing any touching stuff with any guy that I've ever been with before, in, like, well, definitely not in dating scenarios. Obviously, I was in a serious committed relationship years ago, but you know what I mean? I've always said, like, I don't like being touched and blah, 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 which is still true in a lot of places, but I think I've got a bit more flexibility than I thought I had in that regard in some areas. So yeah. So I think you have to assess how you're feeling all the time. You have to check in with the other person, how they're feeling. You have to have open, honest communication about how you're feeling, what you're thinking, what your plans are, how the relationship is making you feel. You're not always going to feel good about it because there's going to be certain difficulties that crop up. And when you go into a relationship quickly with someone, you haven't ironed those difficulties out beforehand, because you haven't had that time to get to know each other, to make sure that you are right for each other in every sense, if you know what I mean. So as much as possible, you're more likely to get thrown together, and therefore there's things that could crop up that you're unaware of and unexpecting. So it can be harder to navigate those things, especially if you've got differences. But hopefully, if you're with the right person, the differences won't make that much difference, if you know what I mean. As long as the basics and deal breakers are all in agreement, and so long as you're getting really well with the person, you're both putting 100% time, energy, and effort into the relationship. This is all good stuff. There are some people that do end up loving each other quickly and end up being in a successful relationship and married for years, even. So I think you've got to find out what you're really feeling and thinking and what's working for you, and you know make sure that you are feeling good as much as possible. Like, if there's some problem, don't shy away from it. Tell the person. It's not going to make them feel good if you've got a problem with them, but it's better than escalating and building up resentment and suppressing and repressing emotions. It'll just down the line cause you to split up and very fast. You want to be open about anything you've got a problem with. And it is important to make the person you're with feel loved, special, cherished, and adored all the time as much as possible. But they've got to make sure they're doing that with you as well. But obviously, there's going to be times when you need to say, hey, I didn't like that thing you did, or I didn't like the way you said that, or I didn't like what you did there, and then, they've got to respond accordingly to that, not ignore it or blanket. They've got to deal with it head on and say, okay, I'm really sorry that I made you feel that way, and like, let's sort this out. Like, how can I be a better partner? How can I improve myself? Or they might just say like, okay, so I'll do this next time. So always be looking for solutions in the relationship. Don't look for problems. Like, if you've got a problem, ask yourself over and again, what's the solution to this? What's the answer to this? What's the solution to this? Because if you keep focusing on the problem, you just go around in circles where you need an actual solution to move forward together. Right? So make sure you're doing that. Make sure you do actually put goals down together, where it's in a book or pieces of paper, and make sure you know what the other person's up to in their life. Like, if you're doing a long distance relationship specifically, you need to know, like, on a daily basis, like, what is that person doing? Like, how are they feeling? What are they thinking? How is life for them that day? You know what I mean? Because only then can you get to know each other more. If you're away from each other physically, then you need to be like focusing more on the person's mind, the person's soul, the person's emotions, the person's mental health, because you're not there doing any physical stuff with them at all. All your relationships focus on other elements, but you can still talk about physical stuff, especially if you're meeting up again for kissing or cuddling or whatever. You talk about what to expect, what you're not to expect, how you're feeling, what feels good, what doesn't feel good, and it's fine to be open and honest and just be yourself. I like being myself, so if I want to keep covered up, which I do, and keep my clothes on in front of him, that's great. But if he like doesn't like wearing clothes in certain circumstances, then it's like, I kind of in two minds. One is I don't want to see the naked body completely, and two is I just like him to be free, though, to be himself and be comfortable with whatever he wants, and I can just look the other way, if you know what I mean. So I think it's important to check in with how you're really thinking, what you're really feeling, and it's important to express that to the person you're with. When you express what you really think and feel and want and need, it actually brings you closer together as a couple. So even if, like, you slightly different sexualities, like he's heterosexual, I'm heteromantic asexual, you know even though we're different in that way, there's still like a lot of commonalities in what we do. Like, for example, the kissing, the hair stroking, the cuddling, the intellectual conversation, tongue kissing, all this type of stuff, but just getting on really well. When we're out together, like eating food, there's a lot of laughter between us, which is really amazing. We've got a great connection. So I think you have to take account all of these things, and if they feel to you like they are a friend to you, or a good friend, or a best friend, as well as a relationship, that's a really good sign, because it means that you're establishing kind of a relationship foundation quickly whilst in the romantic relationship with them. You know what I mean? So make sure that you state your needs early on as well, so they can get used to those, and vice versa. I'm a hyper romantic and hyper kisser, and they knew that before they got into a relationship with me, so they're happy to oblige with that. But yeah, he's really romantic and loves kissing as well, so it's really good. And yeah, I just think that you should think of the positives in a relationship. You shouldn't ignore the negatives. You shouldn't put them on a pedestal. You should talk to them, open, honest communication, but you shouldn't just focus on negative. You have to focus on positive as well. You have to let the person know that you appreciate them, what you appreciate them for, and how they make you feel, the good aspects. You really need to be making sure that if you're saying a difficulty you've got in the relationship, that you're not just brushing the difficulty on the carpet, but you are in fact acknowledging it. But like, have a party another night with them if you want. You know what I mean? Like, once you've got something serious you need to talk about, be serious. But then you can still go and have a great time together. That's what I'm trying to say. If that makes any sense to you whatsoever, just make sure you balance your relationship as well, like as much as possible. Like with work and family and friends and being in the actual relationship and loving that person so much. Make sure that you are always attentive to each other and always expressing love. And don't forget, no one's a mind reader. So tell that person what's on your mind. It's really important. Anyway, I'm going to love you and leave you for now. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon so you never miss an episode. And don't forget to grab Asexual Perspectives best-selling book on Amazon. I'll see you soon next video live stream. Lots of love. Thank you for Shy Cat, sorry, I said Sky Cat, didn't I? Shy Cat, for being here in chat. I'm putting my laptop up now. But anyway, lots of love to you. Subscribe, hit the bell icon so you never miss an episode. And I'll see you soon. Lots of love. Any questions, post them down below. Bye.